So, do you know what happens when your book delivery doesn't show up and you're reading books in sequential order? You gotta drag out the old device so you can read the book. And I was hoping that I just dropped it. We did A Stitch of Time. Well, actually, here we go. We did A Stitch in Time. Then we did the Ball Gowns and Butterflies, where we had a whole speech about butterflies. And the space-time continuum and all that kind of stuff that Doc Brown was worried about. Then we did A Twist of Fate. Then we did Snowstorms and Sleigh Bells, where the group got together for Christmas. The first book was Bronwyn and William. And the second book was Rosalind and August. And the two books in between were the four people getting together for Christmas, which was awesome. I totally, absolutely enjoyed them. And this third book, A Turn of the Tide, was supposed to arrive today. Oh, and by the way, welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina Tina. This is where we read books, talk about books, no special effects, no theme music. If you could please hit the like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. So we've got this one, and we've got this one, and we've been reading the other series too. And this was the one that showed up today. So, not the next one after this, but no, the next one after the other one. So, and I wanted to read A Turn of the Tide, so we're reading The Turn of the Tide with a picture. So, the book starts off with Miranda. This is Miranda's book. She says, "The Stitch in Time, as I've heard, my eldest sister, Rosalind Cullen, is located in Thorn Manor, home to William and Bronwyn Thorn, friends of Rosalind and her husband. From what I understand, Bronwyn is from the 21st century, where my sister was, trapped for 4 years." See, her sister didn't know that she could come back. It took her 4 years. She started a career. She started a whole new life. But she kept yearning to come back and come back and come back. And she finally figured out how to go back to the Stitch and had a wish to go back to her life. And it worked for her. And she had a happy reunion with her husband after pretending to be a governess for a couple of days. So then we had a fantastic, lovely Christmas reunion. I love the Christmas novellas. They are really awesome. Then please check out. I'm doing these books in order. And I'm including the novellas as we go through them. So this is Miranda's turn. And Miranda wants to go to the future. Her goal is to go to the future. However, Miranda has this gift. She can see and speak to ghosts. And she's been seeing this pirate ghost for a while now. And he's ambushed on the road and killed. And she's been seeing this ghost for years. And apparently, even though she wanted to go into the future, to see the future that that Bronwyn so fondly talks about with cars. And I am still having the worst time with this. If you've watched any of my videos, you know that I'm still having a hard time. I prefer a physical book. So I don't know. There we go. So there's your cover. I'll put the picture up there. I will do that. But I'm still having trouble with this. But anyways, so the book will probably won't be here till the end of the week. And I wanted to read the book today because I'm doing it sequential. So I'm reading the book today, and it'll end up in my lap in a couple of days, probably after I complete the whole series. Although the next book hasn't arrived either. So I'm kind of in a quandary on what to do. So, like I said, Miranda was, even though she wanted to go to the future and see cars and computers and see the world and the TVs and all kind of stuff, she, in her heart, apparently was thinking about the guy that got ambushed, the ghost that got ambushed on the road. And she is the first person to go through the stitch and not go forward in time. She's going backwards in time. She's going back in the past. Far back. So she goes in the fat pack, and she's, instead of she goes she goes to 1790, and she has a couple of mishaps, but she ends up meeting Nicholas, and they have their he's in the middle. He's supposed to meet guys on that road. He's the guy that gets ambushed and killed on that road. And she's determined to save him. She's trying to convince him that, hey, if you go to this thing, you're going to get killed. And he doesn't believe her. These are his compatriots. She goes, yeah, but there'll be someone else waiting in the wings after you do your meeting that you'll get killed. You get ambushed and killed. So she goes along, and she changes history a little bit here and there. And then they discover that this child that Nicholas was caring for, who supposedly was supposed to be sent onto a better life in Florida or New Orleans or wherever, didn't happen. The kid was killed on the ship. The ship was being used for smuggling, and the local lord in the beginning was all for it and encouraging the smuggling, but he wanted a little payout. He wanted some funds for his trouble, and he ends up taking so much money that no one is making anything from these smuggling efforts. So the town is a little bit under rebellion. But he's also got some, he's the big mafia mob guy. All right, so it's 1790, but he's still the big mafia mob guy. He's a lord. So he's got rank and privilege and money and all that kind of stuff. So Nicholas and Miranda go to the ship. They have their little adventure with the meeting place, and there is some shooting. Miranda gets wounded. We don't hear too much about her wound. She ties it up once or twice, and you never hear from it again. You would think she would need a stitch or two, and maybe some antibiotics or two, but that takes a while. It kind of gets neglected. It just gets swept under the river. Yeah, just forget she's been shot. It missed an artery. She's okay. Then we go to the ship, and we have to get some of the merchandise from the ship. And they discover Andres. He's the boy that's been killed. And Miranda can see his ghost. And Andres thinks that Nicholas abandoned him, and that's the reason he was shot. And Nicholas is like, no, I didn't abandon you. I was told you were safe, blah, blah, blah. So there's a big conversation with Andres. Then we have some pirates that come, the mobster guy comes after them, and the ship ends up getting wrecked, and they end up escaping. Narrowly adventurous. There's a whole, little chase scene there. Not on the Jason Bourne scene, but just an itty bitty little one. And they end up safe in a cave, and they have their little romantic stuff. We have a lot. I can't deal with the character angst. It's a little much, and I'm like, okay, can we get past the lovey-dovey stuff? Can we get past that? But they don't actually delicately say consummate until, actually, you know what? The book ends, and I don't think they've consummated. Because it's like an open-ended thing. It's not a cliffhanger, but almost a cliffhanger. Not quite. So I'm anxious for the next book. I haven't even read the blurb for it. And it hasn't been delivered yet. And I've ordered it. There is one more book. Wait. I could swear there's one more book. That wasn't the last one. Yeah, we've got The Ghosts and Garlands and then A Castle in the Air. And they're both on the way. well, Castle in the Air is. Garland's is another novella that I'm looking forward to because it'll fill in some of the gaps that was left from this one. So they spend a night in the cave and they have a little fire. And excuse me, you're in a cave, you've got a fire going on the edge. Is that a not smoke signal to the bad guys? Hey, here we are. But anyways, we have a little bit more adventure, and we discover that this lord has this incriminating paperwork. We need to get into his house and get into his office and steal the incriminating evidence so we can free Nicholas's captain. But it turns out Nicholas Captain is guilty, but Nicholas doesn't know that till the end of the book. But the lord, the mobster guy, we really want to put the screws to him. Then we meet another ghost, a Lord Thomas's ghost. He's deceased, and he has some unfinished business. And he turns out, while we trust him in the beginning, he turns out to be a crooked ghost, massively crooked ghost, who's trying to help his son, but his son is even more crooked than he is. So then we get to the house, which happens to be the Courtney house, the Thorne house. And they go to the Courtney house for the party, but it's the 1790s, so it's not exactly Courtney yet. Or maybe it is, but it's like 5th or 6th generations away from August. They run back to the Thorne house. They go into the Stitch. They escape, and they end up back in, I'm not sure if I think it's the 1800s. I don't think it's the 19th. I think it's the 18th. Because they said it was 50 years in the future, so the 18s. So that's my favorite part. When when Nicholas meets Edwin and Bronwyn and Portia and August and Edmund and the whole gang, and they catch up on their adventures, and she says, I'm the only one that went backwards. Everybody else goes future, and I'm the only one that went backwards. And then they decide, well, maybe you went backwards because your heart wanted to go backwards to save Nicholas. So then they decide that they're going to go. When they escaped with the papers to prove that the Lord was guilty, and they left the papers. And I never did find out what Bronwyn wanted to tell her sister. She's like, I need to tell you something, and Miranda's like, later, and they go back to save Emily, because Emily, the niece of the Lord, has been taken captive. Only it turns out, and you don't know this for a while, kind of a spoiler alert, sorry, the Lord didn't kidnap her. He knew she was guilty of helping them, but he didn't. It was somebody else that did the kidnapping. And the Lord Thomas's ghost plays a huge big part. And they go back, he makes them go back to the ship. Emily's been kidnapped, she's tied to a chair. We get there. Is Emily a pretend captive? Or is she a real captive? Is she a pretend captive? Or a real captive? Do we know? So the ghost tells them, hey, Emily's being held captive. And Miranda has this, do we save her? Do we not save her? Is she innocent? Is she not innocent? Is she in this? Is she a pretend captive? And Miranda has this debate with herself. And then the father, Emily's father, Lord Thomas's son, Lord Thomas is Emily's grandfather, uncle. I forget the relation. I think it's the grandfather, because Jenkins is his son, and then Jenkins is Emily's biological father. So, and Jenkins is really evil. He's out for blood. He wants the money. He wants the goods. He's totally 100% crooked. There's a big, huge plot reveal towards the end of the book. Huge revelation. The complete story is laid out. The complete plot line is laid out. The motives behind all the characters. The whole spiel. is done on the ship. Several people get injured. Um, Miranda's in the dress instead of pants, and she keeps wishing for pants. If she was in the 21st century, she'd be in a pair of jeans, but she's not. She's in 1790. So, there's this big revelation on the ship, and the ship is in trouble, and it may sink eventually. And they solve the issue of Andre's killer, and stuff goes on there. There's a big, huge reveal. Then we go back to Thorn House, and we actually do the Stitch again. We go to the Stitch. It goes to the future, but it goes to 1955, not the 70s or early 80s where Bronwyn was. And they're there in the nursery, and there's pictures of famous baseball players. And Nicholas and Miranda can't understand why they didn't, because the first time they did the jump, they've done this jump twice now. They've ended in the 1800s. And Miranda realizes it's not Bronwyn's or Rosalind's century, the 1970s. It's not the 70s or early 80s like Rosalind experienced. This is earlier. This is the 1950s. Why did they end up here? That question is left ended. They do the Stitch right away, and they end up back in the proper time period in 1865. So there's a lot of unanswered questions there. There's a lot of stuff to unpack. I did take about 5 pages of notes, but my biggest complaint is the fact that I didn't have the physical book. I'm really pissed off that the book hasn't arrived yet. Amazon said it was delayed, and it's not going to be here for several days. So we'll see what happens with that. But I'm enjoying the heck out of the series, and I got some really good news today. My Ripple in Time, Julie McQuinn's author, is coming out with 2 books. 2 books! I'm so excited. Hey, if you could hit the like and subscribe, I would appreciate it so much. And I look forward to the next book. We'll do the little novella, and then hopefully by that point, the next 2 books will have shown up. We'll see what happens. Have a good one.